This is Gabrielle Myers, and I'm going to show you how to make a quick, simple mayonnaise sauce from scratch. Now, oftentimes people buy mayonnaise out, and I understand it's convenient, it's easy, you don't want to fuss with your blender, maybe you don't know how to make mayonnaise. But the thing with store-bought mayonnaise is A, it's expensive. Often it's loaded with unhealthy oils such as canola oil, or they cut it with some kind of soybean oil that you're not sure if it's GMO or not. So I like to make it from scratch when I can and when I have the time. It's actually really easy and quick. It's not a complicated sauce. I think it's one of the simplest sauce out there. The pure flavors of the oil that you choose will shine through, and then also a little vinegar and egg yolk will hold it together, as well as a little mustard, salt, and so forth. The most important thing to think about beforehand, before attempting to make your mayonnaise, is what kind of oil you would like to use. There's been a lot of research out there recently about canola oil, and a lot of that is associated with negative health impacts, specifically regarding prostate cancer and breast cancer. We also, often genetically modify canola, and the seeds get cross-contaminated. So I suggest avoiding that. Basically, want a neutral oil. I'm using avocado oil because it's relatively inexpensive at my local grocery store. And so I like to use that. It's also pretty neutral in flavor, so it does what you kind of need it to do in a mayonnaise sauce. You could also use almond oil or grapeseed oil. Those are a little bit more expensive, but I think they would be wonderful oils to use in your mayonnaise as well. So let me walk you through the ingredients, and then I'll show you how to put it together. So again, the first kind of element and the most pronounced element in your mayonnaise will be the oil. And I use 1 cup of, here it's avocado oil, but again you could supplement with the other oils that I mentioned. You have 1 egg yolk, freshly cracked, and then 1 tablespoon of white vinegar, and then a teaspoon of mustard. Here I use multigrain mustard, because I like the little bursts of seeds in my mayonnaise, but they're kind of chopped up. They're not like whole grain, as you can see. So it's a relatively minor kind of fleck of the mustard seed that remains in the mayonnaise when you're done. You could also use Dijon. That's a little more traditional in your mayonnaise. So those are your ingredients. Then you of course also have one of the essential ingredients, salt, right here. And so here I'm going to use half a teaspoon of salt. I might up a little bit depending on the ultimate flavor that I'm looking for, and after I taste the mayonnaise I might need to add more salt, but usually half a teaspoon should be plenty and work quite well with this recipe. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and get started making the mayonnaise and show you how to do that. Okay, so the first step is to add the egg yolk to your blender, and I'm showing you the blender method because I think that's the quickest and the easiest. You could make this by hand, and basically for that you do the same process as you follow for the aioli by hand recipe that I've posted a few weeks ago, except you switch out for these ingredients, but the process is the same. So I put the egg yolk in the blender along with the tablespoon of white wine vinegar, and then a teaspoon of the multigrain mustard. Now, sometimes what happens is you get things that stick to the top of your blades, like a little salt here, and as you can see I'm going to scrape that down into the base. And then I give it a quick pulse to let the ingredients kind of come together briefly and let the vinegar do some work on denaturing the egg protein a little bit before we move into the blending, the full blending with the oil. And so that and then I stop, check out what's happening in the base of the blender here, scrape down any ingredients if large amounts have kind of pulled on the side, which for this not much has happened. And then I'm going to close it on up and start the blades of turning and slowly, very slowly add the oil. And so that's really the key with any of these sauces that require emulsification, is you need to start slowly with adding your fat. It could be clarified butter if you're making a hollandaise. In this case, and in the case of aioli, it's oil. And you just need to add it drop by drop to start. Drop by drop by drop, really slow. Trust me, that's the way to go at first. And then you can increase your pace once you have a good emulsification going. And so as you'll see, I go at a very slow pace to start, and then I kick it up a notch and into the pacing. So you can get this all set, and and why I'm turning the blender towards me is that sometimes you don't have enough liquid at the base. It depends on the food processor that you have, really. Sometimes you don't have enough liquid at the base for the blades to really hit and turn your liquid. And so here I'm kind of pushing on the blender and pulling it towards me, so we get the blender to actually, the food processor and the blades to actually turn that liquid base. If I don't do that, then there's a possibility that my oil will not be emulsified with the egg yolk, and that's the death of your mayonnaise sauce or any emulsified sauce. So you need to give it some extra, TLC as it's starting up in terms of that. Once that's done, then I can return to this more neutral position and slowly continue to add the oil. Stop there to communicate something to you without the speed of the blender munching away in the background here. So what I've done here, I've just added a 1/4 cup of this avocado oil. Notice it's a really slow pace. And I'm checking in every now and then to make sure that basically my sauce is emulsifying and kind of turning it to take a good look, but also just to make sure that if I need to, I am making sure the emulsification happens. You have to do that. You kind of have to baby your mayonnaise sauce at first. And then again, we can speed it up. So I'm going to start speeding it up now. I have really nice emulsification going. It's a stable base for my sauce. Now I can kick it up a notch. I want to show you what's happened here, just so you have that visual. So see this emulsification? This is beautiful. And this is now about, not even half the oil. So I'm about, 40% into my cup. But we still have that firm emulsification, okay? That's what you want to aim for before you start to really accelerate the pace at which you add your oil. All right, now we can bust it out. Check it out here. I'm going to give it one more little. And we check it out. You can look at it. See that? For me, that's a little too tight. I like my mayonnaise a little bit more kind of creamy. So to achieve that, I'm going to taste it first. See, maybe I'll need to add a little bit more vinegar to kick up that acidity level. And if I don't need to, I might add just some water. So let's taste it though before we make any kind of decision about what we're going to do. It's always important to taste your food. I don't think you can taste it enough. And that's one of the most exciting things about being in the kitchen is you get a taste, right? That's what I loved about working in restaurants or catering companies is that I always got to taste my food actively because I love eating. Okay. It's good. It needs more salt, I think, and it needs more acid. And so I'm going to add that, just a pinch, and then blend it a little bit longer. So for this, just take a little splash of my vinegar, add that, and a little shake of salt. Now you could add lemon juice instead of this last splash of the vinegar if you so desire, but I'm just going to stick with the delicious vinegar that I have here. Okay, so let's blend it. So the salt will continue to kind of bloom out as you move forward. And to me, it still looks a little stiff here. Let me show you guys. See how that's still a little stiff? I'm going to add a little water now because I have the acidity right where I want it. And I don't want to mess with that too much, but a little pinch of water is fine. So we have some nice RO water going on here. Just a little dab. And then blend it one more time. Now this is what I want here. Let me show you with my nice clean spatula. The texture. Right, so this is what you want to aim for. See that beauty? It's nice and creamy, right? Now you could use this any way that you use your mayonnaise, right? A lot of people like mayonnaise on their sandwiches, right? Or sub roll. I've heard sometimes people put it on like grilled cheese sandwiches, although I think that's a little weird. But you can use it however you would use your mayo. And then of course one final taste with a clean spoon is always essential to make sure that the water didn't dilute our acidity a whole lot. That's really great. Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for. Now, be careful of adding too much salt towards the end of the process, because the salt will bloom out a little bit in the sauce, I think, as it sits. So, hold back just a little bit on that, and you can always add some at the end. And that's essentially how you make mayonnaise. Simple, easy. After you have completed the base of the mayonnaise, feel free to add whatever ingredients you would enjoy to tweak your mayonnaise. A lot of people like the chipotle mayo. That's like the hot thing now, at least in California. And so you could go to the store, and they do sell little, chipotle peppers in a can. You can also, have a more elegant approach to that sauce adjustment by roasting your own red peppers in the oven, or grilling them briefly, and then putting plastic wrap over a bowl holding them, and that way they kind of sweat out and you can peel the skins, and then chop them up a little bit and add them to the mayonnaise, blend it basically towards the last maybe minute or so of making it. And of course there are many other adjustments. Chopped herbs I think are really nice, like some tarragon or chive would be, I think, a wonderful addition to this mayonnaise, especially this time of year. It's January in California, and so we have a lot of herbs that are growing and taking off. Parsley would be exciting, even though of course less intense than I think the tarragon and the chive. Garlic is always fun to play with. The traditional aioli is lemon and garlic, but there's no reason why you can't add just like a little clove of garlic crushed into the sauce as well, if you like that. Again, the key is to always have fun with your ingredients. Enjoy experimenting, but it's often nice to have a sure hand and a guide as you're going off and experimenting, and starting by learning the traditional basics, and then go off into the realm of experimentation. But the key is to always have fun, taste actively. I don't think you can taste enough unless you eat like the whole thing you're going to serve. And that's about it. Have fun, and please. Hi, the last video got cut off there, so thank you for hanging there with me. So please remember to check out my blog. It's www.gabriellemeyers.com. That's GABRIELLEMYERS. And on there I post gluten, dairy-free seasonal recipes that are delicious, that I hope that you'll enjoy. So please check it out. My book, Hive Mind, is also available for purchase at Amazon, and there's a link in their website as well as articles that I've written on food and farming. So please check it out, and come back next video, and we'll have something exciting for you.